The salvage ship cut through space like a knife through butter. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the stars drift past the main window. His crew had been working this sector for 3 months now, collecting metal scraps and abandoned cargo pods left behind by the war. It was boring work, but it paid well enough to keep his ship running. Contact on long-range sensors, called out Navigator Kate Murphy from her station. Her fingers danced across the control panel as she tried to get a clearer reading. "It's big, Commander. Really big." Jake walked over to look at her screen. The green dot pulsing on the display was indeed massive. Whatever it was, it dwarfed every other object in the area. "How big are we talking?" "Twice the size of a military dreadnought," Kate replied, her voice filled with wonder. "Maybe bigger. I can't get an exact reading from this distance." Chief Engineer Lisa Brady looked up from her workstation. Could be a space station. Or maybe a really large cargo hauler that got lost. Jake shook his head. "Nothing that big operates in this sector. Set course for the contact. Let's go take a look." The journey took 4 hours. As they got closer, the object on the screen grew larger and more detailed. It was definitely a ship, but unlike anything Jake had ever seen. The hull was dark gray, with strange markings covering its surface. The design was sleek and curved, completely different from the blocky human ships he was used to. "I'm reading 0 power signatures," Lisa reported from her station. "Whatever it is, it's completely dead in space." Kate studied her navigation display. "The design doesn't match any human ship in our database. This has to be alien." Jake felt his heart skip a beat. Alien ships were incredibly rare finds. Most had been destroyed during the various wars, and the few intact ones were worth fortunes to the right buyers. "Can you identify the species?" "Running comparison scans now," Kate said. After a few minutes, she looked up with excitement. "It's Zephyrian, Commander. This is a Zephyrian vessel." Everyone on the bridge went quiet. The Zephyrians had been one of the most advanced species in known space before they mysteriously vanished 3 years ago. Their technology was far beyond anything humans could build. Finding one of their ships intact was like discovering a treasure chest filled with gold. "Prep the boarding shuttle," Jake ordered. "Lisa, I want you to run every scan you can on that ship. Look for weapons, power sources, anything that might be dangerous. Kate, try to hail them on all frequencies." "Already tried, Commander," Kate replied. No response. "If anyone's alive over there, they're not talking." Lisa's scanners worked for 30 minutes before she had results. The ship appears to be completely powered down. No life signs, no energy readings at all. The hull is intact with no signs of battle damage. It's like they just turned everything off and walked away. Jake found that strange. Why would anyone abandon such an advanced ship? Any signs of what happened to the crew? Negative. The ship's too big, and my scanners can't penetrate deep enough to get detailed readings. We'll need to board it to learn more. Jake nodded. Lieutenant Kyle Barnes, prepare a boarding team. Full environment suits and weapons. We don't know what we might find over there. Kyle was Jake's security chief, a former military man who knew how to handle dangerous situations. He quickly assembled a team of 6 people, including himself. They loaded into the shuttle and launched toward the alien vessel. As they approached the massive ship, Kyle felt dwarfed by its size. The hull stretched out in both directions further than he could see. Strange symbols covered the surface, glowing faintly even though the ship had no power. "I'm detecting an airlock on the port side," reported the shuttle pilot. "It looks compatible with our docking system." "Take us in nice and easy," Kyle instructed. The docking process took 20 minutes. When they finally made contact, Kyle and his team entered the alien ship through their own airlock. Emergency lighting from their suits illuminated a corridor that was clearly not built for humans. The ceiling was higher than normal, and the walls curved in strange ways. "Air is breathable," reported one of the team members after checking his scanner. "Temperature is a bit cold, but within acceptable range." Kyle activated his radio. "Commander, we're inside the alien ship. The corridor appears to lead toward what might be the bridge. The design is definitely not human." "Copy that, Kyle. Take your time and be careful. We don't know what kind of security systems these ships might have. The team moved slowly through the corridors. The ship was enormous inside, with multiple levels and sections branching off in all directions. After an hour of exploration, they found what appeared to be the main control room. The bridge was filled with strange consoles and displays, all dark and silent. "This place is incredible," Kyle whispered into his radio. "The technology here is beyond anything I've ever seen. But it's all dead. No power, no active systems." "Any sign of the crew?" Jake asked. "Negative. It's like they just disappeared. There are no bodies, no signs of struggle, nothing. They could have evacuated, but why leave the ship behind?" Kyle's team spent 3 more hours exploring the vessel. They found crew quarters, what looked like engineering sections, and massive cargo bays that were completely empty. The ship appeared to be designed for a crew of several hundred, but there was no trace of anyone. When they returned to the salvage ship, Kyle reported his findings to Jake. "Commander, this ship is a complete mystery. It's in perfect condition, but totally abandoned. The technology is incredible, but we can't understand any of it." Lisa had been analyzing the sensor data while Kyle was gone. "I've been studying the hull composition and design. This ship is built like nothing we've ever seen. The materials alone would be worth millions on the open market." Jake stared at the massive alien vessel on his main screen. Something this valuable couldn't just be left floating in space. But claiming it would require more resources than his small salvage operation could handle. "Kate, send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them we've found an intact Zephyrian vessel and request immediate assistance. This is way too big for us to handle alone." As the message transmitted across space, Jake wondered what secrets the alien ship might hold. The Zephyrians had been masters of technology that humans barely understood. Whatever was aboard that vessel could change everything. The dark ship continued to drift silently through space, waiting for someone to unlock its mysteries. Fleet Admiral Peter Walsh read the message 3 times before he believed it. An intact Zephyrian vessel was the kind of discovery that happened once in a lifetime. He immediately ordered his fastest ship to Jake Morrison's location, along with the best xenotechnology team the fleet could assemble. Dr. Amy Foster was eating breakfast when she received the emergency call. As humanity's leading expert on alien technology, she had studied Zephyrian artifacts for years. The chance to examine a complete ship made her hands shake with excitement as she packed her equipment. "Are you certain it's Zephyrian?" she asked Admiral Walsh during the briefing. Commander Morrison's team confirmed it. "The ship matches known Zephyrian design patterns, and the hull markings are consistent with their language systems." Amy nodded. "This could be the breakthrough we've been waiting for. Zephyrian technology is decades ahead of ours. If we can understand how their systems work, it would revolutionize everything." Admiral Walsh looked serious. "There's more to consider, Doctor. Intelligence reports suggest other species are also searching for Zephyrian technology. If word gets out about this discovery, we might have company." 3 days later, Amy arrived at the coordinates with a full research team aboard the science vessel UHS Defiance. Commander Morrison transferred his crew to the larger ship, and they began a detailed study of the alien vessel. Amy's first look at the Zephyrian ship left her speechless. The technology was even more advanced than she had hoped. The hull was made from materials that seemed to bend light around them. The internal systems used principles of physics that human science barely understood. "The quantum processors alone are worth studying for years," Amy told Jake as they walked through the alien corridors. "But the power distribution network is completely beyond us. Look at these conduits." She pointed to crystalline tubes running along the walls. They pulsed with a faint inner light, even though the ship had no power source connected. "They seem to store and channel energy in ways that shouldn't be possible," Amy continued. "The mathematical principles involved are incredibly complex." Lisa Brady had been working alongside Amy's team, trying to understand the engineering aspects. "I've been studying the propulsion system. The engine design uses some kind of space-folding technology. It's like nothing we've ever built." Jake watched the 2 women discuss the alien systems. Both were clearly excited by the discovery, but he could see frustration growing as well. What's the problem? Amy sighed. The problem is compatibility. Everything on this ship is designed around alien technology and alien thinking. We can't interface our computers with their systems. We can't even turn on the lights without understanding their entire technological framework. So, what are our options? Standard procedure would be to carefully study each system and try to reverse engineer the technology. That could take decades, assuming we ever figure it out at all. Lisa had been quiet during this conversation, but now she spoke up. There might be another option. Both Jake and Amy looked at her. Lisa was known for her creative engineering solutions, but she looked uncertain about whatever she was thinking. What kind of option? Jake asked. Well, the ship's design is modular. Look at how the systems are arranged. Lisa pointed to various sections of the corridor. Each major component can be disconnected from the others. The Zephyrians built this ship to be easily modified. Amy frowned. You're not suggesting we try to modify Zephyrian technology. That would be incredibly dangerous. No, Lisa said slowly. I'm suggesting we replace it entirely. Jake stared at her. Replace what entirely? Everything. The computers, the weapons, the power systems, all of it. We strip out every piece of Zephyrian technology and rebuild the ship with human components. Amy looked shocked. That's impossible. You're talking about gutting one of the most advanced ships in the galaxy. Think about it, Lisa continued, getting more excited as she explained her idea. The hull design is perfect. The structural framework is incredibly strong. The size gives us room for weapons and systems that would never fit on a human ship. We're not trying to understand their technology. We're using their engineering as a foundation for our own. Jake found himself intrigued by the idea. Would that actually work? The modular design makes it possible, Lisa replied. It would be the biggest engineering project in human history, but it could work. Instead of trying to figure out how alien quantum processors operate, we install human computers that we actually understand. Amy shook her head. Admiral Walsh will never approve something that extreme. You're talking about destroying priceless alien technology. Are we destroying it, or are we making it useful? Jake asked. Right now, this ship is just a very expensive museum piece. If we can't operate it, what good is it? Over the next few days, Lisa worked with Amy's team to study the feasibility of her plan. The more they learned about the ship's design, the more possible it seemed. The Zephyrian modular system was almost like they had planned for major component replacement. Look at these connection points, Lisa showed Amy on her tablet. They're standardized throughout the ship. Once we understand the interface system, we can connect human technology to Zephyrian structural components. Amy was still reluctant. Even if it's technically possible, the resources required would be enormous. We're talking about rebuilding an entire capital ship from the inside out. Jake made his decision. I'm going to recommend it to Admiral Walsh. The worst-case scenario is we end up with a very large human ship. The best case is we create something completely new. When Admiral Walsh received Jake's proposal, his first reaction was to reject it immediately. The idea seemed insane. But as he read through Lisa's technical analysis, he began to see the possibilities. The projected timeline is 8 months, he told his staff during an emergency meeting. The resource requirements are massive, but not impossible. The question is whether the potential benefits justify the risk. Sir, the intelligence reports are getting worse, his aide reported. 3 different alien species are actively searching for Zephyrian technology. If we don't act soon, we might lose this opportunity entirely. Admiral Walsh made his choice. Approved. Commander Morrison, you have full authority to proceed with the retrofit. Dr. Foster, I want your team to document everything before we start tearing it apart. If this works, it could change the balance of power in this entire sector. Jake looked at the massive alien ship floating next to the Defiance. In 8 months, they would either have created something incredible or they would have destroyed one of the most valuable discoveries in human history. Lisa, start assembling your engineering teams. Amy, I need detailed scans of every system we're going to remove. We're about to find out if humans can improve on alien perfection. The work began immediately, with crews working around the clock to prepare for the most ambitious engineering project anyone had ever attempted. The work began at dawn on Monday morning. Chief Engineer Lisa Brady stood in the main cargo bay of the alien ship, surrounded by the largest engineering team ever assembled for a single project. 300 technicians, engineers, and specialists had volunteered for what many called an impossible mission. "People, we're about to do something that has never been done before," Lisa announced to the gathered crowd. "We're going to take apart the most advanced ship in known space and rebuild it with human technology. It's going to be hard work, dangerous work, and some people think we're completely crazy." A few laughs echoed through the bay. "They might be right," Lisa continued with a smile. "But if we succeed, we'll have created something the galaxy has never seen before. A ship that combines the best of alien engineering with human innovation." The first phase involved carefully removing all Zephyrian technology while preserving the ship's structural framework. Dr. Amy Foster's team documented everything as it was removed, creating detailed records of the alien systems for future study. "Each quantum processor is worth more than most planets," Amy muttered as workers carefully extracted another crystalline computer core. "I hope we know what we're doing." Lisa overheard her comment. "Amy, those processors might be incredibly valuable, but they're useless if we can't operate them. Better to have a working ship than a beautiful museum." The hull proved to be even more remarkable than they had expected. The Zephyrian materials were lighter than human metals, but stronger than anything in the fleet. The internal framework could handle stresses that would tear apart normal ships. "Look at these support beams," called out Ron Clark, the weapons specialist who had joined the project. "They're designed to distribute force across the entire hull. We could mount weapons on this thing that would normally require their own ships." As the weeks passed, the true scope of the project became clear. The alien ship wasn't just large, it was enormous. The main corridor was wide enough to drive ground vehicles through. The cargo bays could hold entire fighter squadrons. The engineering sections had room for power systems that would normally fill an entire building. "We're not just rebuilding a ship," Lisa told Jake during one of their evening planning sessions. "We're building a mobile city." Navigator Kate Murphy had been working on the ship's control systems. The Zephyrian bridge was too large for a human crew, so they planned to install a smaller control center while converting the rest of the space for other purposes. "The navigation systems are the most complex part," Kate explained to Lisa. "The alien sensors were incredibly advanced, but we can't interface with them. We'll have to install completely new sensor arrays throughout the hull." "How long will that take?" "At least 2 months, assuming we can get the components. We're talking about sensor coverage for a ship that's 3 times larger than anything we've ever built." Meanwhile, Ron Clark was having the time of his life, designing the weapon systems. The alien hull could accommodate firepower that would have been impossible on human ships. "I'm installing the main cannon array along the ventral spine," he explained to Jake, pointing at his blueprints. "The power distribution network can handle energy loads that would overload our biggest ships. We're talking about weapons that could take out entire battle groups." "Are you sure the ship can handle that kind of stress?" "The Zephyrian engineering is incredible. The hull materials actually get stronger under pressure. It's like they designed this thing to be a weapons platform." The power systems were Lisa's biggest challenge. Human reactors were much bulkier than Zephyrian power sources, but the alien ship had enormous internal volume to work with. "We're installing 5 fusion reactors throughout the ship," she told Admiral Walsh during one of his inspection visits. "Normally that would be massive overkill, but this ship is so large we need multiple power sources just to run basic systems." "What about redundancy?" "Each reactor can operate independently. If we lose 4 of them, the ship can still function on minimal power. It's the most robust power system ever installed on a spacecraft." Dr. Foster had moved beyond documentation to active participation in the rebuild. Her knowledge of alien technology helped the human engineers understand how to best utilize the ship's framework. "The Zephyrian environmental systems were fascinating," she told Lisa while they worked on the life support installation. "They used some kind of atmospheric recycling that was incredibly efficient. Our systems are more primitive, but also more reliable." "Reliable is good," Lisa replied. We need systems that human crews can maintain and repair. Sophistication doesn't help if we can't fix it when it breaks. As the months passed, the ship began to transform. The graceful alien curves now housed human technology, creating a unique hybrid of two completely different design philosophies. The result was unlike anything ever built. Steve Collins, the gunnery officer, arrived during month 6 to oversee the weapons installation. He took one look at the specifications and whistled in amazement. This thing is going to be a monster, he told Ron Clark. The firepower ratings are off the charts. Wait until you see the shield systems, Ron replied. Amy's team figured out how to integrate human shield generators with the alien hull materials. The defensive capabilities are incredible. The final month was the most stressful. All the individual systems had to be connected and tested together. Lisa barely slept as she coordinated the work of dozens of teams throughout the massive ship. Primary power online, called out one technician. Navigation systems active, reported another. Weapon systems responding to commands. Life support functioning normally. One by one, the ship's systems came to life. The bridge displays lit up with information. The engines hummed with power. The massive vessel that had been dead in space for months was awakening. Incredible, whispered Jake as he stood on the new bridge. The human control systems were integrated seamlessly with the alien architecture. Displays showed every section of the ship functioning properly. Lisa joined him at the main console, exhaustion clear on her face, but pride in her eyes. 8 months of work, and here we are. I'm not sure what to call it anymore. It's not really Zephyrian, and it's not quite human either. It's something new, Jake replied. Something that's never existed before. Dr. Foster approached them with a tablet full of test results. All systems are operating within normal parameters. The integration between human technology and alien engineering appears to be stable. Admiral Walsh's voice came over the communication system. Commander Morrison, you are authorized to begin space trials. Let's see what this hybrid creation can actually do. Jake settled into the captain's chair and looked around the bridge. His small salvage crew now commanded one of the largest ships in human space. More importantly, they had created something that combined the best of 2 different technological approaches. Kate, take us out of dock. Let's see what our new ship can do. The massive vessel moved away from the construction platform with surprising grace. Whatever they had created, it was about to be tested in the vast emptiness of space. The Defiance moved through space like a living thing. Commander Jake Morrison sat in his captain's chair, watching the test results appear on his displays. After 8 months of construction, they were finally seeing what their hybrid creation could actually do. Engine performance is incredible, reported navigator Kate Murphy from her station. We're running at only 60% power and already moving faster than most ships at full acceleration. Chief Engineer Lisa Brady monitored the power systems from her position. All reactors are stable. The alien hull design is distributing engine stress perfectly. I'm reading 0 structural strain. Jake was amazed by the smoothness of their flight. Normal ships vibrated and groaned under high acceleration, but the Defiance felt solid as a rock. The Zephyrian engineering was unlike anything he had experienced. Ron, how are the weapon systems looking? Weapons specialist Ron Clark checked his displays. All cannon arrays are responding normally. The power distribution network is handling the load without any problems. I'm ready to run firing tests whenever you give the order. Let's start with something small. Target that asteroid cluster at grid 77. Ron programmed the targeting computer and fired a single pulse from their smallest cannon. The energy beam crossed space in an instant and completely vaporized an asteroid the size of a building. Holy! Ron caught himself before finishing the curse. Commander, that was our weakest weapon system. A single pulse just destroyed a target that would normally require sustained fire from multiple ships. Dr. Amy Foster looked up from her science station. The alien hull materials are channeling and focusing the energy in ways I don't completely understand. It's like the ship itself is amplifying our weapons. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. They had known the ship would be powerful, but this was beyond their projections. What kind of damage could our main cannons do? Ron hesitated before answering. Based on these readings, a full power shot from our primary array could probably destroy a capital ship in a single hit. That's impossible. I would have said the same thing yesterday. But look at these power flow readings. The alien engineering is allowing us to channel energy loads that would melt human ships. Kate called out from her station. Commander, I'm detecting ships approaching from the outer system. 3 vessels. Military configuration. Jake activated the communication system. This is Commander Morrison aboard the UHS Defiance. Identify yourself. A familiar voice responded. Jake, this is Admiral Walsh aboard the battleship Yorktown. We're here to observe your trials and provide support if needed. Jake relaxed. Having the Admiral present would make the testing process easier. Welcome to the party, Admiral. We're just getting started with performance trials. I can see that from here, Admiral Walsh replied. That asteroid you just vaporized was visible from 50,000 kilometers away. What kind of power are you dealing with over there? Lisa answered for the group. We're running 5 fusion reactors at partial capacity. The alien power distribution system is more efficient than anything we've ever seen. We're getting output levels that should require a dozen reactors. Show us what else this ship can do. Jake looked at his crew. Everyone seemed eager to push their creation to its limits. Kate, let's test maneuverability. Show the Admiral how well this big ship can dance. Kate's fingers flew across her controls. The massive vessel began moving through a series of complex turns and rolls that should have been impossible for something so large. The ship responded to her commands like a fighter instead of a capital ship. Incredible. Admiral Walsh's voice came over the comm. You're moving like a ship 1/10 that size. How is that possible? The alien inertial systems are still partially functional, Amy explained. We couldn't remove them without damaging the hull, so we integrated our controls with their technology. The result is artificial gravity and inertial dampening beyond anything we've built. Steve Collins had joined the crew for the testing phase. As gunnery officer, he wanted to see the weapon systems in action. Commander, request permission to test the main cannon array. Jake considered the request. The main cannons were their most powerful weapons, designed to engage multiple targets simultaneously. What kind of target do you need? There's a dead moon in this system that's scheduled for mining demolition anyway. We could use that. Admiral Walsh's voice came over the comm, permission granted. I want to see what kind of firepower we're dealing with. Steve programmed the targeting system for the distant moon. It was a small celestial body, about 50 kilometers across, made mostly of rock and ice. Main cannon array ready to fire. Fire when ready. The ship's main weapons discharged simultaneously. Multiple energy beams crossed space toward the target moon. When they struck, the entire celestial body simply disappeared in a flash of light. The bridge was silent for several seconds. Steve, Jake said quietly, what exactly did we just do? We completely destroyed a 50-kilometer moon with a single volley, Steve replied, his voice filled with disbelief. The energy output was equivalent to several nuclear weapons. Admiral Walsh's communication came through with static, as if he was having trouble believing what he had seen. Commander Morrison, did you just destroy an entire moon? Yes, sir, we did. With one shot. With one volley from the main cannons, yes, sir. There was a long pause before the Admiral responded. I think we need to have a serious discussion about what you've created over there. Lisa was studying her engineering displays with growing excitement. Commander, I'm reading power reserves at 90%. We just fired our most powerful weapons and barely drained our energy systems. Amy was looking at her sensor readings with amazement. The alien hull materials actually absorbed and redirected some of the weapon discharge. The ship is using its own firepower to strengthen its shields. Jake stood up from his captain's chair and walked to the main viewing window. In the distance, he could see space debris where the moon had been moments before. His small salvage crew had somehow created a weapon of unimaginable power. Admiral, we need to return to base immediately. This ship is far more dangerous than we intended. Agreed. We also need to discuss security measures. If word gets out about what this ship can do, every military force in the galaxy will want to either steal it or destroy it. As they prepared to return to fleet headquarters, Jake realized their lives had changed forever. They were no longer salvage operators or researchers. They had become the crew of the most powerful ship in human space. Kate, set course for home. Best speed. Aye, sir. Course laid in. The Defiance turned toward human space, its incredible power now proven beyond doubt. Behind them, the scattered remains of the test moon continued to drift through space, silent testimony to what human engineering could accomplish when combined with alien innovation. Lieutenant Kyle Barnes had been quiet during the testing, but now he spoke up. "Commander, what happens if someone decides they want to take this ship away from us?" Jake looked at his crew, these people who had worked so hard to create something unprecedented. Then they'll discover that we're not the same people who found that abandoned alien ship 8 months ago. We're something new now, just like our ship. In the distance, long-range sensors began detecting movement at the edge of the system. Unknown ships were approaching from deep space, drawn by the energy signatures of their weapons testing. The galaxy was about to discover what humans could do with alien technology. The emergency meeting began at dawn. Fleet Admiral Peter Walsh stood before a room full of military commanders, intelligence officers, and government officials. The holographic display behind him showed sensor readings that made everyone in the room uncomfortable. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem," Walsh began. "Long-range deep space monitors have detected a massive fleet moving toward human territory. Initial estimates suggest over 200 warships of unknown design." Intelligence Officer Dana Wright stepped forward with a data tablet. "Sir, we've identified the fleet composition. The ships match known patterns from the Hegemony, a military coalition that has been expanding aggressively through this sector." "The Hegemony," Walsh repeated. "What do we know about them?" "They're an alliance of 6 different alien species, all militaristic societies that believe in conquest through superior firepower. They've destroyed or enslaved dozens of civilizations over the past century." General Robert Hayes, the ground forces commander, studied the fleet projections. 200 ships is more than our entire navy. What kind of firepower are we looking at?" Dana checked her notes. "Individual hegemony vessels are roughly equivalent to our heavy cruisers. Their weapons technology is advanced, and their shielding systems are reportedly very effective against conventional attacks." Walsh activated another display showing human fleet positions. "Our current defensive capability consists of 47 ships scattered across 12 systems. We can maybe assemble 30 vessels for a concentrated defense." "So we're outnumbered almost 7-1, Hayes said grimly. "What are our options?" "Limited. We can try to negotiate, though the hegemony reportedly doesn't negotiate with species they consider inferior. We can evacuate our outer colonies and try to establish a defensive line closer to Earth. Or we can fight with what we have." Dr. Amy Foster had been quiet during the briefing, but now she raised her hand. "Admiral, what about the Defiance?" Walsh looked at her seriously. "What about it, Doctor?" "The weapons testing yesterday proved that ship has firepower equivalent to an entire battle fleet. Maybe our numbers aren't as bad as they seem. 1 ship against 200 is still impossible odds, no matter how powerful it is." Commander Jake Morrison entered the room at that moment, having been summoned from the Defiance. "Admiral, request permission to speak." "Granted, Commander." Jake moved to the front of the room and looked at the fleet projections. "I've been studying these sensor readings. The hegemony ships are using standard formation tactics, probably because they've never encountered serious resistance." "Your point?" "My point is that they're not expecting to face something like the Defiance. Their tactics assume they'll be fighting conventional ships with conventional weapons." General Hayes shook his head. "Commander, I respect what you've accomplished with that ship, but you're talking about facing an entire invasion fleet." "No, sir, I'm talking about using our advantages. The Defiance is faster than anything they have, more heavily armed, and protected by shielding they've never seen before. We don't have to fight their entire fleet at once." Intelligence Officer Wright looked interested. "What kind of strategy are you suggesting?" Jake moved to the tactical display and began highlighting different areas. Hit and run attacks. We strike their supply lines, their isolated patrol groups, their communication relays. We make them chase us while we pick apart their fleet piece by piece. That's guerrilla warfare, Hayes observed. It could work, but only if your ship is as capable as you claim. Dr. Foster stood up. General, yesterday we watched the Defiance destroy a 50-kilometer moon with a single weapons volley. The ship's capabilities exceed anything the hegemony has ever encountered. Walsh studied the tactical projections. How long do we have before they reach our territory? Approximately 6 weeks, Dana replied. Their fleet is moving at conventional, faster-than-light speeds. That gives us time to prepare. Commander Morrison, I'm authorizing you to begin immediate combat preparations. Dr. Foster, I want your team to analyze everything we know about hegemony technology and find weaknesses we can exploit. Jake nodded. Admiral, I'll need to recall my crew and complete final system checks. The ship is powerful, but we've never tested it in actual combat conditions. Understood. You have full authority to prepare the Defiance for war. As the meeting broke up, Jake found himself talking with Chief Engineer Lisa Brady, who had been monitoring the ship systems during the briefing. Lisa, how confident are you in our combat readiness? The ship exceeded all performance expectations during testing. But Jake, we're talking about fighting a war with a crew that was doing salvage work a year ago. We'll have to learn fast. What about our technical systems? The weapons are working perfectly, the shields are incredibly strong, and the engines can outrun anything we're likely to face. My biggest concern is maintenance. We're operating hybrid technology that no one really understands completely. Lieutenant Kyle Barnes joined the conversation. I've been thinking about our defensive capabilities. The ship is tough, but if they manage to board us, we don't have enough security personnel to repel a large assault force. Jake had been considering the same problem. We'll have to make sure they never get that close. Our strategy has to be based on speed and firepower, not close combat. Navigator Kate Murphy approached with a concerned expression. Commander, I've been analyzing the hegemony fleet movements. They're not just heading for our territory randomly. Their course suggests they know exactly where our major colonies are located. Inside information? Possibly. Or they've been watching us longer than we realized. Dr. Foster had been studying the intelligence reports about the hegemony. Jake, there's something else you should know. According to these files, the hegemony has been actively hunting for Zephyrian technology. Jake felt his blood run cold. What do you mean? The intelligence suggests that the hegemony was responsible for driving the Zephyrians out of this sector. They've been searching for Zephyrian ships and artifacts for years. So they might know about our ship? It's possible. The energy signatures from our weapons testing yesterday were visible across several light years. If they have long-range sensors in this area, they definitely detected us. Jake realized the situation was even worse than he had thought. The hegemony wasn't just invading human space. They were coming for the Defiance specifically. Lisa, how quickly can we complete our final preparations? If we work around the clock, maybe 2 weeks. Make it 1 week. Kate, I want you to study every bit of intelligence we have on hegemony fleet tactics. Kyle, start training everyone on the ship for combat operations. As his crew scattered to their tasks, Jake looked out at the stars and wondered if they had bitten off more than they could chew. The Defiance was powerful, but it was still just one ship against an entire invasion fleet. Admiral Walsh approached him before leaving. Commander, I want you to understand something. You and your ship might be humanity's only real chance of surviving this war. No pressure. Jake watched the Admiral leave, then returned to the Defiance to prepare for the fight of their lives. In 6 weeks, they would discover whether human innovation could triumph over overwhelming odds. The first contact with the hegemony fleet came sooner than expected. Commander Jake Morrison was reviewing tactical plans when Navigator Kate Murphy called out from her station. Commander, I'm detecting multiple ships at the edge of the Titan system. Configuration matches hegemony patterns from our intelligence files. Jake moved to his captain's chair and activated the main display. 5 alien vessels had appeared on their sensors, moving in a standard patrol formation toward the human mining colony on Titan's largest moon. Numbers and classification? 3 heavy cruisers and 2 destroyer-class vessels, Kate reported. They're moving at standard approach speed, probably expecting no resistance. Lieutenant Kyle Barnes studied the tactical display. Sir, the mining colony has over 10,000 civilians. They have no military defenses. Jake made his decision quickly. Battle stations. All crew to combat positions. Warning lights began flashing throughout the ship as the crew prepared for their first real battle. Chief Engineer Lisa Brady checked her displays. All systems operational. Reactors at full power, weapons charged, shields at maximum strength. Kate, take us into the system. I want to intercept those ships before they reach the colony. The Defiance accelerated toward the approaching hegemony fleet. As they got closer, Jake could see the alien ships clearly on his main screen. They were angular vessels with dark hulls, bristling with weapons and sensor arrays. Steve, weapon status? Gunnery Officer Steve Collins ran through his pre-combat checklist. All cannon arrays ready to fire. Main weapons charged and targeting systems locked onto the lead ship. Communication attempt first. Open a channel to the hegemony vessels. Kate worked her controls. Channel open, sir. Hegemony ships, this is Commander Morrison of the UHS Defiance. You are approaching a civilian colony in violation of interstellar law. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The response came back in heavily accented English. Human vessel, you will surrender immediately. Your ship will be seized for examination. Resistance will result in your destruction. Jake looked at his crew. Everyone was tense but ready. I guess diplomacy is off the table. Steve, target their lead ship and fire. The Defiance's main cannons discharged simultaneously. Multiple energy beams crossed space and struck the hegemony cruiser dead center. The alien ship's shields flared briefly, then collapsed completely. The hull began breaking apart as secondary explosions rippled through the vessel. Direct hit, Steve reported with amazement. Their shields didn't even slow our weapons down. The remaining hegemony ships immediately changed course and began firing back. Energy beams and missile salvos streaked toward the Defiance, impacting against their shields in brilliant flashes of light. Shield status. Jake called out. Lisa checked her displays. Shields holding at 98%. Their weapons are barely scratching us. The battle became completely one-sided within minutes. The hegemony ships were designed to fight conventional vessels with conventional weapons. Against the Defiance's hybrid technology, they were helpless. Second ship destroyed, Steve announced as another alien cruiser broke apart under their fire. Third ship is trying to retreat. Don't let them escape. We can't allow them to report our capabilities to their main fleet. Kate adjusted their course to pursue the fleeing vessels. The Defiance's superior speed allowed them to catch the retreating ships easily. Within 15 minutes, all 5 hegemony vessels were floating debris. All enemy ships destroyed, Steve reported. 0 damage to our vessel. Jake sat back in his captain's chair, amazed by how easy the victory had been. Casualties? None, sir. The enemy weapons couldn't penetrate our shields. Dr. Amy Foster had been monitoring the battle from her science station. Jake, I was analyzing their weapons during the fight. The hegemony is using energy frequencies that our hull materials actually absorb and redirect. They were essentially recharging our shields while trying to damage us. So their weapons are useless against us? These particular weapons, yes. The alien hull materials seem to be specifically resistant to the energy types the hegemony uses. Lieutenant Barnes was studying the debris field. Commander, we should examine their ship computers before the wreckage disperses. We might learn something about their main fleet. Good idea. Kate, take us close to the largest piece of wreckage. As they approached the remains of the lead hegemony ship, Amy used the Defiance's sensors to scan for intact computer systems. I'm detecting several data cores that might still be functional. Can we extract the information without boarding the wreckage? Our sensors can pull basic data, but for detailed intelligence, we'd need to physically recover the computer cores. Jake considered the risks. Kyle, take a boarding team and see what you can recover. Make it quick. While Kyle's team worked to extract intelligence from the wreckage, Jake contacted Admiral Walsh to report their first engagement. Admiral, we've successfully engaged a hegemony patrol group. 5 enemy ships destroyed with no damage to the Defiance. Outstanding work, Commander. What did you learn about their capabilities? Their weapons are ineffective against our shields, and their own defenses can't stop our firepower. The technology gap is larger than we expected. That's excellent news. What about their tactics? Standard formation flying, predictable attack patterns. They fought like they expected to face conventional opposition. Kyle's voice came over the communication system from the alien wreckage. Commander, we've recovered several data cores. The information should give us detailed intelligence about their fleet composition and objectives. Bring it back immediately. Admiral, we're returning to base with captured intelligence. An hour later, Dr. Foster and Intelligence Officer Dana Wright were analyzing the recovered hegemony data. What they found was both encouraging and terrifying. Their main fleet consists of over 200 ships, just as we estimated, Dana reported. But Jake, they have detailed information about human colonies, military positions, and fleet deployments. Inside intelligence? Possibly. Or they've been conducting surveillance operations for months. Amy looked up from her computer analysis. There's more. According to these files, the hegemony has been actively hunting for Zephyrian technology. They believe that whoever controls Zephyrian ships will dominate this entire sector of space. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Do they know about the Defiance specifically? The data suggests they detected our weapons testing. They're coming here primarily to capture or destroy our ship. So, this isn't just an invasion. It's a targeted strike. Dana nodded grimly. The hegemony considers the Defiance to be the greatest threat to their expansion plans. They're committing their entire fleet to eliminate us. Jake looked at the tactical displays showing the approaching alien armada. 200 ships were coming specifically to destroy his vessel and crew. The easy victory over the patrol group suddenly seemed less significant. How long until their main fleet arrives? Based on the patrol group's schedule, probably 3 weeks. Admiral Walsh needs to see this intelligence immediately. We're not just fighting for human colonies anymore. We're fighting for the future of this entire region of space. As the Defiance headed back to fleet headquarters, Jake realized that their first battle had been just a preview. The real war was still coming, and the hegemony now knew exactly what they were facing. Supreme Admiral Vextar stood before the massive holographic display in his flagship's command center. The three-dimensional image showed the scattered remains of his patrol group, floating in space where 5 proud hegemony warships had been destroyed by a single human vessel. Explain to me how this happened, Vextar demanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had conquered dozens of star systems. Fleet Commander Zektar, his second-in-command, manipulated the display to show combat recordings recovered from emergency beacons. The human ship appeared to be using modified Zephyrian technology. Our weapons had no effect on their shields, while their firepower completely overwhelmed our defenses. Modified Zephyrian technology? Vextar studied the energy signatures shown in the recordings. That's impossible. The Zephyrians fled this sector years ago. All their ships were either destroyed or scattered to the galactic rim. Nevertheless, the readings are unmistakable. The human vessel combines Zephyrian hull materials with what appears to be primitive human weapon systems. Vextar felt his blood pressure rising. The hegemony had spent years hunting for intact Zephyrian technology, believing it would give them dominance over the entire sector. To discover that inferior humans had somehow acquired and modified such technology was infuriating. How many ships did the humans destroy? All 5 vessels in the patrol group. Total combat time was less than 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Vextar turned away from the display, his mind calculating the implications. If one human ship could destroy 5 hegemony vessels that easily, his invasion plans would need to change dramatically. Deploy the Hunter fleet immediately. I want that ship found and destroyed before it can do more damage. Meanwhile, aboard the Defiance, Commander Jake Morrison was planning his next move. The intelligence recovered from the destroyed patrol group had revealed hegemony supply routes and communication networks throughout the sector. Their main fleet is still 2 weeks away, reported navigator Kate Murphy. But they've got supply ships moving through the Centauri system that are basically undefended. Chief Engineer Lisa Brady looked up from her maintenance reports. A supply raid makes sense. Disrupt their logistics while testing our combat systems under different conditions. Dr. Amy Foster had been analyzing the captured data with growing excitement. Jake, look at this. The hegemony supply ships are carrying something called quantum resonance cores. According to these files, they're essential for their long-range communication systems. What happens if we destroy their communication cores? Their fleet loses the ability to coordinate attacks across multiple systems. Each ship group would have to operate independently. Lieutenant Kyle Barnes studied the tactical implications. That could give us a huge advantage. Instead of fighting one coordinated fleet of 200 ships, we'd be facing smaller groups that can't call for backup. Jake made his decision. Kate, set course for the Centauri system. We're going hunting. The journey to Centauri took 12 hours. When they arrived, they found exactly what the intelligence had promised. 3 large hegemony supply ships escorted by only 2 light cruisers, moving slowly through the outer system. Target the escort ships first, Jake ordered. We need to eliminate their ability to send warnings before we hit the supply vessels. Gunnery Officer Steve Collins locked onto the lead escort. Weapons ready, sir. Fire. The Defiance's cannon spoke once, and the first hegemony cruiser simply vanished in a ball of plasma. The second escort tried to run, but their weapons caught it before it could escape the system. As they exploded, something unexpected happened. The destruction of their quantum resonance cores created a massive energy pulse that disrupted subspace communications across the entire system. Incredible, Amy said, watching her sensor readings. The quantum cores were networked together. When they were destroyed simultaneously, they created a cascade failure that knocked out hegemony communications across multiple star systems. How long will the effect last? According to these readings, probably several days. Maybe a week. Jake realized they had just struck a blow far more significant than destroying 5 ships. Kate, what other supply routes can we hit before they realize what's happening? There are 3 more convoys within striking distance. If we move fast, we can hit them all before the communication blackout ends. The next 72 hours became a nightmare for the hegemony. The Defiance struck like a ghost, appearing without warning to destroy supply convoys and isolated patrol groups before vanishing back into space. Each attack was planned to maximize damage to hegemony logistics while avoiding their main battle groups. Patrol group destroyed in the Wolf system, Steve reported after their 6th engagement. 15 enemy ships eliminated, 0 damage to our vessel. Lisa had been monitoring their ship's performance throughout the campaign. Jake, our systems are actually improving with each battle. The alien hull materials seem to be adapting to the energy frequencies we're encountering. Adapting how? The shield efficiency is increasing. The first patrol group's weapons reduced our shields to 98%. The last group couldn't even get them below 99%. Dr. Foster was equally amazed by what she was observing. The Zephyrian materials are learning from each engagement. It's like the ship is evolving its defenses based on the weapons it faces. On the 4th day of their campaign, they received an urgent message from Admiral Walsh. Commander Morrison, intelligence reports that the hegemony has deployed specialized hunter groups specifically to find and destroy the Defiance. They're using some kind of advanced tracking technology. Jake looked at his tactical display, which showed hegemony search patterns spreading across the sector. How advanced? Unknown, but they seem confident they can locate you. I'm ordering you to return to base immediately. Negative, Admiral. We're having too much success out here. In 4 days, we've destroyed over 30 enemy ships and crippled their communication network. Jake, they're hunting you with everything they have. Don't get overconfident. But Jake was feeling confident. Every engagement had proven the Defiance's superiority over hegemony technology. Their ship was faster, stronger, and more heavily armed than anything the aliens could field. "One more strike," he told his crew. "Intelligence shows a major supply depot in the Vega system. If we can destroy that, we'll set back their invasion plans by weeks." Kate plotted the course to Vega, but her sensors detected something troubling as they approached the system. "Commander, I'm reading massive energy signatures near the supply depot. This isn't just a cargo facility." "What kind of energy signatures?" "Multiple capital ships. At least 20 heavy cruisers, and what looks like a battleship." Kyle studied the tactical display with growing concern. "Sir, this looks like a trap. They're using the supply depot as bait." Jake realized his crew was right. The hegemony had figured out their pattern and set an ambush. But looking at the size of the force waiting for them, he felt a surge of excitement rather than fear. They want a fight? Let's give them a fight they'll never forget. The Defiance accelerated toward the Vega system, where the largest space battle in human history was about to begin. The final battle began at dawn on Earth's eastern hemisphere. Long-range sensors detected the hegemony's main invasion fleet dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Over 300 alien warships formed into attack formations, their dark hulls blocking out entire sections of stars. Admiral Peter Walsh stood in Fleet Command headquarters, watching the tactical displays with growing dread. The human defensive fleet had managed to assemble 57 ships of various classes, but they were spread across the system to protect multiple targets. "Sir, the hegemony fleet is dividing into 3 main attack groups," reported the tactical officer. "One group is heading for Earth directly, another is moving toward Mars colony, and the third is targeting our shipyards near Jupiter." Walsh activated the fleet communication system. "All ships, this is Admiral Walsh. The enemy has committed everything to this assault. We hold the line here, or humanity falls. Fight well." Commander Jake Morrison received the transmission aboard the Defiance as his ship raced toward Earth at maximum speed. They had been conducting hit-and-run attacks on the hegemony's outer forces for 2 weeks, but now the main event had arrived. "Kate, how long until we reach Earth?" 37 minutes at current speed," Navigator Kate Murphy replied from her station. "The hegemony fleet will reach orbital distance in 45 minutes. Chief Engineer Lisa Brady was pushing their hybrid systems to absolute limits. All 5 reactors are running at 110% capacity. The alien hull materials are channeling more power than should be physically possible. Will the ship hold together? The Zephyrian engineering is incredible. The hull is actually getting stronger under this kind of stress. I think we can maintain this output indefinitely." Dr. Amy Foster had been monitoring hegemony communications throughout their approach. "Jake, they're specifically targeting the Defiance. Supreme Admiral Vextar has issued orders for his entire fleet to focus fire on us the moment we enter weapons range." 300 ships against 1, mused Lieutenant Kyle Barnes. "I guess we've made an impression." Jake looked around at his crew. These people who had started as salvage operators and were now about to face the largest space fleet ever assembled. "Any regrets about taking that abandoned alien ship apart?" "Are you kidding?" Lisa laughed. "This is the most incredible engineering project in human history. We're about to find out if human creativity can beat overwhelming force." The Defiance entered Earth's defensive perimeter just as the first hegemony ships began engaging the human fleet. The battle was immediately desperate, with human vessels outgunned and overwhelmed by superior numbers. "The heavy cruiser Intrepid is taking massive damage," reported Kate, monitoring fleet communications. "The destroyer squadron at Grid 7 has been completely destroyed." Jake watched the tactical display showing reds, representing human ships, winking out one by one. The defensive fleet was fighting bravely, but they were being systematically destroyed. "Steve, target the lead hegemony battleship. Full power to main cannons." Gunnery Officer Steve Collins locked onto the massive alien vessel at the center of the enemy formation. Main cannon array charged and ready. Fire. The Defiance's primary weapons discharged simultaneously, sending multiple energy beams across space toward the hegemony flagship. The alien ship's shields flared, flickered, and collapsed completely. The battleship's hull began breaking apart as internal explosions rippled through its structure. "Direct hit on the enemy flagship," Steve announced. "The battleship is breaking up." Across the hegemony fleet, the destruction of their command ship caused immediate confusion. Vexstar's carefully coordinated attack plan began falling apart as individual ship commanders lost contact with fleet command. "All hegemony ships, this is Fleet Commander Zektar assuming command," came a transmission over the alien communication frequencies. "All vessels concentrate fire on the human superweapon. Ignore all other targets." Jake watched as over 200 alien ships turned toward the Defiance and began firing everything they had. The space around his ship filled with energy beams, missiles, and exotic weapons that lit up the darkness like a deadly fireworks display. "Shield status." Jake called out as the ship shook under the massive bombardment. Lisa checked her displays with amazement. Shields holding at 97%. The alien hull materials are absorbing and redirecting most of their firepower. They're actually making us stronger. Return fire. All weapons continuous bombardment. The Defiance became a ship of pure destruction. Every weapon system fired simultaneously and continuously, sending streams of energy across space that tore through hegemony ships like paper. The alien vessels, designed to fight conventional battles with conventional weapons, had no defense against the hybrid technology they faced. Enemy ships destroyed. 15, 20, 30. Steve counted as his weapons found target after target. Their formations are breaking apart. Amy was monitoring the battle from her science station. "Jake, the hegemony ships are starting to retreat. Their weapons can't penetrate our defenses, and they can't match our firepower." But Jake wasn't satisfied with just driving them off. "Kate, take us into the center of their formation. I want them to understand that Earth is under human protection." The Defiance accelerated directly into the heart of the hegemony fleet, its weapons cutting through enemy ships while their return fire accomplished nothing. The alien vessels tried to scatter, but the hybrid ship was too fast and too powerful to escape. "This is impossible," came a transmission from one of the hegemony commanders. "How can one ship defeat an entire fleet?" Jake activated the communication system to respond. "This is Commander Morrison of the UHS Defiance. You came here to steal our technology and enslave our people. Instead, you've discovered what humans can accomplish when we refuse to surrender." The battle raged for 6 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The Defiance systematically destroyed every hegemony ship that didn't flee the system, while the surviving human fleet watched in amazement. "Final count," Steve reported as the last alien ship exploded. 187 enemy vessels destroyed. 43 ships escaped by jumping to faster-than-light speed. Lisa was studying her engineering displays with satisfaction. All systems operating normally. Hull integrity at 100%. Weapon systems ready for continued operations. Admiral Walsh's voice came over the communication system. "Commander Morrison, this is Admiral Walsh. I'm not sure what you've created over there, but you just saved humanity." Jake looked out at the debris field that had once been the most powerful invasion fleet in the sector. Scattered among the wreckage were the remains of human ships whose crews had died defending their homeworld. "Admiral, we didn't do this alone. Every ship that fought here today was part of this victory. Nevertheless, Commander, the galaxy is going to be a very different place now. Word of this battle will spread, and everyone will want to know how humans defeated the hegemony." Dr. Foster was already thinking about the implications. "Jake, we've proven that combining different technological approaches can create something more powerful than either could achieve alone. This isn't just about one ship anymore." Kyle nodded in agreement. "Every species in the galaxy is going to want to either ally with us or try to steal our technology." Jake settled back in his captain's chair, exhausted but victorious. A year ago, he had been commanding a small salvage operation. Now, he was the captain of the most powerful ship in known space, and humanity had established itself as a major galactic power. "Kate, set course for Earth orbit. Let's go home." As the Defiance moved toward Earth, Jake reflected on the incredible journey that had brought them to this moment. An alien ship that had been abandoned as useless had become humanity's greatest weapon. A small crew of salvage operators had become the defenders of their entire species. The stars looked different now, filled with possibilities instead of threats. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. Behind them, the wreckage of the hegemony fleet drifted silently through space, testament to what could be accomplished when human ingenuity met alien technology. The age of human expansion was about to begin.